Hey guys, Russet here. I'll be doing a very basic tutorial on how to Photoshop with the very basics. So this is basically just a tutorial for anyone who watches my more advanced tutorials that I'll be making just in case they don't know Photoshop, so that they can still do my advanced tutorials. It's hard using different people's tutorials because, like, one person will explain something in an early episode and another person will explain it in the 80th episode, you know. So I'm going to try and make tutorials for everything. Today we'll just be doing the very basic tools, and as you can see, my screen is up. The first time I did this, I opened it and it crashed, so it was very annoying. We should have everything set to what it'll look like when you first open Photoshop if you haven't changed anything. I've got all my tools up. It should be on the first thing. This little arrow allows you to see more versions. It's not versions of the tool, it's similar things. Like with the brush, you've also got the pencil. With the blur tool, you've also got the smudge and sharpen tool. But the other thing is all this stuff on the side, and yeah, all this stuff on the side, if you don't have it or you want to have it or you've got extra stuff, you just need to go into window, and the stuff with ticks is the stuff you've got. You can add stuff, you can take away stuff, it's pretty easy. And now we start. So first off, you go File, New, and you have your box come up. I like to have a resolution of 72, RGB color, 8-bit, transparent background because coloured backgrounds suck. Now, transparent background, because if I don't want a transparent background for something, I can just use a paint bucket tool to fix it, and it's easy as easy. It's just easy. It's nothing else to it. It's efficient and easy. You'll be wondering why I'm putting a specific measurement in for each tutorial. It's because this is my YouTube size tutorial. I know it's going to record my whole screen, not just my thing, but I wanted to go into it. This is the size that gets HD YouTube videos, so if you made a picture or an animation, for instance, each frame, if it's this, you can export it from what your video editing program to be HD, easier with this setting. With it on pixels, of course, not inches, not centimeters, not any other weird thing. The name is tutorial. Well, you don't have to call it tutorial, obviously. You can call it whatever you want, but I'm just calling it that for now. Okay, this should come up, and whatever tool you've got selected will be there. So first off, we're going to talk about the pencil tool. No, wait, the brush tool, because that's what's there first. So here I have my brush tool, and I draw it, and it looks great, right? Well, I can change the opacity so it's less visible or more transparent. That's what opacity means. It's more or less transparent. The flow, which makes it more less consistent. So probably if I just make my opacity back up, it's probably a little too inconsistent there. You can see all the circles. That's because it's so inconsistent. It's not smooth like these are, and that's okay occasionally, but I prefer to just, I don't really like changing my consistency. This is my history here, so if I go forward or backwards, I can undo stuff. The other way to undo stuff is Control Z, which undoes stuff. I'm not sure why it's not. Control Alt Z does more, etc. Okay, so that's another. I'm going to be doing a lot of keyboard shortcuts throughout this. Yeah, so now we move on to the pencil tool. And the reason I'm doing it right now is because I need to show you something. So here's my pencil tool. It looks very similar to the brush tool when the brush tool is consistent. It looks very similar to the brush tool, right? Wrong. Well, it does look similar, so you are right. Sorry. I'm telling you you're wrong when you're not. There is a difference there. If I fill this, it's all good. If I fill this one, you can see this hideous white line. And that can be, you might not think it's not that big a deal right now, but if I go, say I made my background later on a black thing, then you can see it a lot better. Anyway, it just gets annoying, especially for people with who are colouring in animation. Now I've just gone Control Z to go back to new. Next we move on to the eraser tool. The eraser tool, very simple, it rubs things out, it's not that hard. Again, opacity, flow, you can do whatever. Oh yeah, brush size is up here. You can also, if you use a blurrier brush, I'll make it big. Oh wait, there's nothing to it. Oh wait, very awkward. Okay. Then as you can see, it's more faded, and that can be really helpful, especially when drawing realistic stuff that wouldn't just be hard, like a lot in nature. It's not just hard, different colours. It's softly goes into the next colour. Sorry, I'm getting all poetic now. So next tool is the paint bucket tool. It's very simple. If you've never used the paint bucket tool before, perhaps you should start with a program like Paint or something, because there are a lot of tools in Photoshop. Paint bucket tool is a very, very basic tool, but I'll just undo that. And then with the paint bucket tool paired is the gradient tool. The gradient tool is fun. You can draw a line with it, and it creates a gradient. You can do it anyway. You can do it however you want. You can make it so that it fades. You can make it so that it's, you know, you can do all sorts of stuff with the gradient tool. It's very handy if a solid background just doesn't look intricate enough, but you don't want to actually draw an intricate background. It just sort of breaks up the colour a bit. Yeah, so that's those tools. Now we're moving on to selection tools and moving tools. So here we have the move tool, which moves it. Whatever's in that layer moves. Easy. The marquee tool, I believe it's the marquee, rectangle marquee tool. So you select an area, you can move either that area with the move tool, or you can free transform that area, which allows you to make it bigger, rotate it, move it. You can do a lot. The only problem is it does get blurrier the more you move it, see? So if you want to free transform something in a drawing, free transform your sketch, and if you want to change something once you've already started colouring, wait till you're fully coloured so that your colouring won't get screwed up. But yeah, just a word of advice. I'm probably like, I don't want to give you too much information, because it'll overflow. So the lasso tool is very similar to the marquee tool, except you can draw your area, and it does all the same stuff. Oh yeah, the other thing you can do is go Control X, which cuts, or you can go Edit, cut, and it gets rid of it. Or you can copy, and you can do all sorts of stuff. You can layer via copy, which means that it copies it to another layer, just that area. Or you can do layer via cut, which means you cut it out of this layer and put it onto a new layer. Handy. What else? Let's move on to the Magic Wand tool. Magic Wand tool is very helpful, because say I just wanted the purple. I just wanted this purple because it's so purpley purple. But I could sit here trying to cut this out, and obviously it's never going to be perfect, and that looks just ugly. Or I can use the Magic Wand tool, which just selects all of one colour, and then I can cut it out, and I have my purple. The other thing, the reason I put a dot in the centre of this is because I just want to show you something. This is something I only learned recently, and especially this works really well for shading, but if I click this, I can make more than one, which is handy, because say I wanted to just take out little triangles like this, and some over here, then it just cuts out my triangles. So that just makes multiple lassos. Normally, if it's on that, you can make one, and then if you try and make another one, it'll deselect the first one. Anyway, moving on to the blur tool. It blurs stuff. You never would have guessed, right? So it blurs stuff. It's pretty. Sharpen tool, sharpen stuff, but it can make it really fuzzy, as you can see. It's not that nice. I like it because it's rainbow. Anyway, rainbow! So the other thing we have here is the smudge tool, which is the one I use the most out of all of them, and it smudges stuff. And if this was, so if I right click here, I can merge it down. And if this, so now that this is on the same layer, it'll blur, smudge it all. I mean, not blur. Smudge tool does take a second, it's got a bit of lag to it there. What's really bad is when you got to smudge like a huge background, you just sit there for an hour waiting for it to smudge, just watching it go slowly across the screen. But yeah, so that's my smudge tool. We've got the dodge tool here and the burn tool, but I'm not going to go into huge detail. These are probably tools you won't need to worry about while you're doing basics. Basically, the dodge tool makes everything brighter. Lighter, I mean, not brighter. The burn tool makes everything darker. Back to the text tool now we're up to. So basically, you click it, you make a text box, you brighten it. Now, it'll come up as whatever colour you've got here, but if you don't want it to be like that and you've already written, I don't know, so you write an essay about it, I don't know, whatever you wrote. It's really annoying, sometimes it just takes a minute to get it there. Tutorial, so good at spelling. Okay, so basically you select it and you can either change it here, and see how it's changed, or you can change it up here. However you do it. I usually change it down here, but you can change the size here, you know, change it. I usually just go to 250. You can change the font here, and there's obviously a million different fonts. So you've got, creepy. Okay, but yeah, now the thing with a text layer, if you can see it's a different picture to the normal layer, is that you can't draw on it. The only way you can draw on it is if you rasterize it. But if you do that, you can no longer edit your text. So you got to make sure all your text is exactly how you want it, or you're gonna have to redo it. That's why I like to I actually just leave my text layers how they are until whenever. Now, second last tool we'll be looking at is the eyedropper tool. And basically, if you've got a reference sheet or a picture, you can just, now that's rasterized anyway. Say you've got a million different colours, you just grab the eyedropper tool, and whatever colour you click is the colour that comes up. And that's really helpful, because it's a lot better than trying to guess the right colour. But yeah, that's all I can think of right now. Oh yeah, zoom tool, last one. I've been using that a lot anyway. But basically you click on it, you click, or you can select the area you want to zoom in on. Once the plus goes away inside of the tool, you're as far as zoomed in as you can, and if you right click and go fit on screen, it brings you back out. But the other thing you can do is just zoom out one by one, or you can just, yeah, but you can select a square, or you can zoom in slowly like that, or like that. Anyway, so that's the zoom tool. Those are all the tools I'll be bringing up right now. Now we move on to layers. I'll just make a new one. So you've got your first layer. You go new layer up here, and it'll ask you if you want to use previous layer to create clipping mask. If you tick that, it'll come up like this. And what that means is, see how nothing's coming up? Well, it is coming up, just you can't see it because there's nothing underneath it. It'll only come up, so whatever layer it's a clipping mask for, it'll only come up on what's filled in the layer below it. And that's pretty cool. You can do that with multiple layers. So if I create another clipping mask, this isn't a clipping mask for this, it's still a clipping mask for this. I know it's confusing, no. So there we go. There's my clipping mask. So you can lock layers too. If you lock it here, that means you can't draw on the transparent part anymore, but you can still draw on what's already been done. The other thing you can do is lock it so that you can't draw on it at all. As you can see, a cross sign comes up, it says it because the layer is locked. You can lock it so that you can't move it, so you can still draw on it, you just can't move it. And then you can lock it so that you can't do anything to it, and you just won't be able to. And yeah. So, I'll just, it's locked, isn't it? There. Okay, so now I've got my screen again. That's layers. Oh yeah, the other thing is the opacity. You can change the opacity of practically everything in Photoshop. The opacity here, you can just go down, go up, whatever. Now there is a key factor in, this is to do with shading. I use it with shading, and there's probably other things too. But say I wanted to shade a cat. I'm gonna draw a really crappy cat. Oh my god, it sucks so bad. Okay. I've got this problem where, anyway, it changes colour on me, but, so here's my kitty, my really crappy, mutilated kitty, and say I can't remember the point of my topic anymore. Okay, say I wanted to shade it, that's right. So I've got him in one layer. Say I want to shade this here. Well, if I do that, that's obviously too bad. I can change the opacity here, and you think, well, why am I bothered when I can just change the brush's opacity? Well, this is why you should be bothered. When you've got a huge amount to shade on one layer, you have your opacity at 37, so, and you've got to keep it all the shading consistent, obviously. Well, you do this, and then say you let go, and then you do it again. Pretend you don't have this problem because you don't. I only developed it recently. But if you go over it again, it's darker on what's already been shaded, and it makes it look very not nice. So it's all funny, and as you can see, that's terrible shading. Where if I have it shaded like that, it's a lot smoother, as you can see. That's why I do it like that. But yeah, so that's shading. That's opacity, I mean. What else do I want to do? I've done locking layers. Yeah, I think that's it. So, oh yeah, I was going to go over some shortcuts as I've been going. Now, Control A selects the whole canvas. Control X cuts whatever's in that layer. Control Z undoes. Control Alt Z undoes and undo. Like it just keeps going. Control C copies. Wait, Control A, Control C copies. Control V pastes. Control S saves. And then you've got a few others, but that's basically the ones I use most. Now I'm going to give you a very basic thing to learn these basic tools. You should learn this. It's important to get used to the interface too. Obviously, while you're getting used to it, you're going to take a while to, well, I'm not sure, you could be, even if you're a quick learner, it's a complicated interface to learn. So just make a reference sheet for your character using these basic tools, and that just means I suck at reference sheets. It's like, I really do. I always make it overcrowded and I never know what to put, so it either looks really weak or way overboard. But so say you've got, this is a really bad cat, so this is why I shouldn't rush when I draw. But so say, make a reference sheet. As you can see, use a lot of these basic tools. Make sure you use lots of layers. You'll have to use some text to say the character's name. This does not look like Russet, and she will murder me if she sees this. Good thing. Good thing I invented her and she can't murder me. So, you know, use all your tools, try and get used to them, etc. So, thanks for joining me, guys. Sorry if this seems really rushed. I'm sorry if I talk too fast. But these are the very basic tools to get you started with your journey with Photoshop. A download link for Photoshop CS2 will be in the description. Completely legal, guys. It was released by Adobe themselves. I always say Adobe, but it's Adobe. So Adobe themselves. It's CS2. It's really old. It comes with image ready. It takes a while to download. As I said, it's a huge file. But yeah, so this is Russet07 signing off. Bye, guys.